Hey guys, this is Connor with Conquest HP, and this is the essentials of fat loss as part 2. So you're going to watch part 1, go check out part 1. I give you some of the basics there. Today I'm going to talk more about the diet side of things, nutrition side of things, the calories in part. So just to reiterate from the last video, all fat loss success stories come down to calories being manipulated. So whether you're aware of it or whether you're working on it directly or whether you deny that calories exist for some reason or not, calories are the currency that is determining whether you have success or whether you don't. Before I talked about the physical activity, the exercise side of things, that's the calorie burn side of things. Today I'm going to talk about the diet side of things, that's the calories consumed. So just remember the overarching idea is that you need to burn more calories than you consume. And if you do that over time, you will continue to burn, or you will continue to lose body fat. You'll continue to lose weight. So that's true in every approach. But today I'm going to talk a little bit about different ways that you can actually implement that with your diet, because there are different styles of implementing this. Not everyone has to count calories. It is probably the most reliable way and flexible way to do it. But I'm going to give you some other ideas to work with too, and just how popular diets work. So the first and probably most popular right now way to do this is to vilify and cut out entire portions of your diet or food groups or food types. So these are like the keto diets, low carb diets, no sugar diets, paleo diets, all that kind of stuff. So with those kind of diets, you're essentially saying, this part of my diet, and this is my overall diet, this part of my diet has to go. I can't consume those things anymore. In the case of like keto, which is just a really low carb diet, that's all it is, you're just saying that you have to try to keep carbs as low as possible. That's all that's happening there. So if I say that, I'm ruling out things like ice cream and baked goods and pasta and bread and cereal and all of the things, in short, that people typically overconsume. There is zero magic to a low carb diet, zero, compared to a high carb diet if we're looking beyond calories. So as long as calories are being accounted for, there's no magic there at all. Why these tend to work is that you're cutting out all those foods that people tend to overconsume, all the foods that people enjoy eating, that they like the taste of, and that are readily available. So if you say you're not allowed to eat any of those foods, it's very easy to cut your calories because you can't eat your favorite things anymore. But make no mistake, if you're just doubling up on your bacon and eating coconut oil, out of the jar and putting butter in your coffee and silly stuff like that, you can absolutely rack up more calories than you need, and you can end up not losing weight. So that is a very popular way to do it right now. But again, there's no magic, it's working with calories. Another popular way is through intermittent fasting. So you essentially have a fasting window every day, you have a feeding window every day. Feeding window is where you're consuming food, digesting food. Fasting window is where you're not. So everyone has a fasting window when they're sleeping. So if you normally sleep 8 hours a night and you eat right before bed and right when you wake up, 8-hour fasting window. That's how this is going to work. Intermittent fasting extends that. The most popular way to do it is to extend it to like a 14 or a 16-hour fast. So instead of just not eating for those 8 hours when I'm sleeping, I'm going to try to cut out a little bit of my evening eating before bed and maybe not eat until noon or something like that the next day. And in doing so, I've just like the keto, I've just said, here's a big portion of my diet that's gone. So if I normally eat breakfast in that time, and now I'm not eating breakfast because it's in my fasting window, I've cut out the calories from breakfast. So again, back to the calories, right? The problem with intermittent fasting is that if I'm saying calories don't matter, I'm not paying attention to the calories, I'm just not going to eat through that period of the day. If I'm then hungry or I have cravings or something like that, when I am allowed to eat, and I double my portions there because I'm hungry now, hungrier, then you can totally negate all the effects of that fasting. So again, it's calories. If you find that cutting out breakfast and getting by on coffee is for some reason going to work better for you, then more power to you. But it's not like a magic pill that means calories don't work. You still have to make sure that you're consuming fewer calories in the day. So if you keep your lunch and dinner fairly standard and you just cut out breakfast, that can work. You can do that. It might not be a right fit for you, but again, you can do that. Make sure the calories work. Another popular way is with meal planning. So this is a very rigid way to do it. You're saying, I'm going to eat this for lunch on Mondays and this for dinner on Mondays and this for dinner on Tuesdays and so forth. It typically requires some prep ahead of time, some meal prepping, maybe cooking a whole bunch of food on Sundays and Wednesdays, that kind of thing. And it is very rigid. You are eating similar or the same things a lot of the time because it has to be something that you can repeat over time. If I'm eating rice at one meal and then the next week for that same meal I'm eating sweet potatoes, well, rice and sweet potatoes aren't the same thing. I can easily overeat one or the other if I'm just assuming that they're the same. So it has to be something that you can repeat over time that's kind of standardized. That can get kind of dry, eating the same things or similar things all the time, and that's where you can run into problems. Some people run into problems because it is a rigid structure. And if Tuesday evening you want to go for drinks with friends, or you have a work meal, or you're just really busy and you don't have time for that Tupperware, whatever, the meal plan doesn't cater to that. It's not something that's built into it. So that can be a problem that you run into. The way I like to do this most, and the way I do this with pretty much every client I start with, is I'll have them track their macros through MyFitnessPal, or I'll have them track their macros manually. Macronutrients, macros, protein, fats, and carbs, they're each composed of a certain number of calories. So proteins and carbs both have 4 calories per gram. Fat has about 9 calories per gram. So if I count how many proteins, fats, and carbs I eat in a day, I know how many calories I've consumed. If I know how many calories I've consumed, and I can get an average per day for a week or something like that, then I know what I have to do to lose weight. I have to get under that number. I have to create a calorie deficit to lose weight. So if I'm tracking, so MyFitnessPal is a free resource online. There's also an app, massive food database that'll give you all the food information of what you're eating. And it gives you a fancy like food log that you can track it all onto. If you're using something like that, then it tells you exactly what you are doing and what you need to do in order to lose weight. So week to week, month to month, I can adjust my plan on the fly and say, this mix of protein, fats, and carbs is leading to weight loss. I'm going to continue that until it doesn't work anymore. And when it doesn't work anymore, I can say I'm going to cut out 20 carbs from here. And then I can do that on a daily basis until that doesn't work anymore, et cetera, et cetera. If you want to eat more carbs than fats, that's fine. If you want to eat more fats than carbs, that's fine. Whatever you're adjusting, as long as those calorie numbers work out, it's going to work out. You're still going to get those results because you are directly influencing the part of the equation that you need to. That calories in part is something that you can define. So if you're defining it, you know exactly what you have to do. And then that means if I want to eat rice instead of sweet potatoes, I can do that. If I'd rather have an apple for a snack instead of a banana, I can do that. It's very flexible. As long as I hit my numbers, which again is the overarching idea, the important part, then I'm fine. So this is a really flexible way to do this. It's my preferred way. It's the way that's most easy to sustain over time. And that really is, the true test. You don't want to lose 30 pounds for a year only to gain back 40 pounds 1 year and 1 day from now. So make sure that whatever approach you're choosing, it's something that you can see yourself living with over time. And if you don't see yourself living with it over time, have an exit strategy, something that you can transition into to make sure you're accounting for that. But if in doubt, track your calories, track your macros for a week, use MyFitnessPal, use pen and paper and track your proteins, fats, and carbs, something like that. Get an idea of what you're consuming, because even just writing it down, tracking it through MyFitnessPal is really eye-opening. And it does tell you exactly what needs to happen for you to have some success. So go there first, if in doubt. And even if you're doing a different diet like keto, if you really want to do keto, then more power to you. You can still track your protein, fats, and carbs if you want to. If you're trying to go as low carb as you can, track it and see how many calories you're consuming a day. Get an average, see what happens.